Okay, so hello everybody, and if you're new here, my name is Keely. If not, then you have been here before, and welcome back. So today we are going to be building the McMansion, as you can see from the title. Personally, I like to build a lot of family homes or community lots, but in my personal Sims 4 save file, I have a famous actress and ice skater Sims that I wanted them to eventually, become the pinnacle of fame and just wealth, and I want them to have their own fancy house to live in. So, this is that house. I recorded the footage and it took forever. So, as per usual, we're sped up to 8 times the speed so you can see all of it. And I even had to separate it out. This is just building the outside. So, next week I will be posting the video of me decorating the inside. So, this week we are just trying to nail out the outside and the ideas I had for how I wanted their, mega mansion to look. We're on the 64 by 64 lot in Del Sol Valley, so we got lots of space. Um, so I had this idea that I wanted this like grand staircase to come up onto the second level, to have like certain entertaining spaces and like partitioned off rooms for my particular Sims. Like I said, one of them is a famous actress, so I wanted her to have her own space, but then I wanted the other Sims, since they're sisters, I wanted them to have kind of like their own spaces in the house. So that was kind of my ideas moving forward with this. So here we are putting in the like grand area. I ended up using a lot of the like very gaudy, luxurious items from Get Famous because I feel like I don't really use them that often. So I wanted to use some of these items that I don't really use super often with my super famous Sims for them to live in, luxury or whatever. Um, enjoy that 1% lifestyle as they, do their acting gigs and their athlete career and whatever else my Sims were up to. So, um, if you're new here, we like to do dad jokes. So, today's dad joke is, what is a cat's favorite sugary snack? So, stick around to the end of the video and I will let you know what the answer is. So, keep that in mind. So here I am. I wanted like a little garage. Obviously, it's not really going to be functional, but I wanted like a little overhang, and I was going to size up some cars to make it look, very fancy. Get some sports cars going on, and I found out there was one of those like clear roofs that had like that same like kind of bronzy color that goes along with it. So I had like the coppery color, so I wanted that to kind of match. And so there are my fancy little cars I put in. And instead of using the black and white swatches, what I feel like I use a lot of black and white windows, that's why I wanted to go with the white and bronze color because it's not a super common color combination. And honestly, I don't use a lot of these like fancy, ultra rich style items, anyways. So it was super fun for me to kind of envision this house for my Sims. And I wanted a big area, like patio space in the back with a pool, so then they could, swim around and just kind of have all the luxurious amenities that I imagine an actress and professional athlete Sim would have. Something I thought about doing was having like a little walkway between the different like promenades or different like decks or porches within the house. So as you can see, I set up a little room there, and that's actually just going to be a hallway, basically like an outdoor hallway. Before this, my Sims were living in Oasis Springs, so I kind of was inspired by the like terracotta houses and like the areas with open archways and the open windows in some of those like larger scale houses in Oasis Springs. But I wanted to do it with the ultra rich, ultra gaudy, ultra fancy stuff from Get Famous. So that was kind of my idea because these Sims started from nothing. They were in my, personal save file, and they just kind of started off in Oasis Springs. They wanted to move to Del Sol Valley, but I wasn't really liking a lot of the lots in there. Not that there's many to begin with. Um, so I had them move to Oasis Springs and live in a trailer, and then the goal was to have them eventually earn enough money to live in this mega mansion, which I can happily say they do live in this mega mansion now. And so I wanted to have this ready for once they got to this stage. So here I am, kind of just moving some cars around, moving the posts around, making their little overhang for their, uber fancy driveway area. And I kind of finally got rid of some of those extra pieces. Now this is really kind of coming to fruition of everything I was thinking of, putting in some trims and things like that, trying to get it all to line up. And I've got the marble going around, trying to figure out what kind of flooring I wanted to use and like the wallpapers or the exterior of the house. I ended up going with not that stone, I believe this color. or something similar to that color for the outside. And it took me a little while to figure out how I wanted the paving to go because I actually had this theme kind of continue of how I did the driveway throughout the rest of the house, which you'll see a little bit later. So here I am kind of extending it out and putting in more of those little walkways and areas. I wanted another one to get to the front promenade. I didn't want them to have to just walk inside. So I thought about putting those to section off areas of the house and have different themed areas. So the roofing definitely gave me a hard time on this house. Definitely took me a solid amount of time to try to figure out how to make it look less ridiculous. Um, just because of how I did the exterior. I wish that I could have gotten rid of that overhang that you see in the front there, but it kind of just was what it was. You can see that point there because of how I shaped the house, and for both those points to match up with the roof, it kind of had to overhang. So if I definitely would do anything different, I would try to fix that, but again, I am just a mere, average player, not a professional. Although I did decide to do a diagonal roofing piece because I really didn't like how that looked. So you'll see me do that in a hot second. Yeah, there we go. Now I finally decided, maybe a diagonal piece would be better. And then, that fixed it a little bit, but it still looked kind of odd. I wanted little windows on this, which is why I had it pulled up so high at first, but because of the roof eaves, I just didn't like how it looked. So I tried lowering them down, but I still didn't really like it. So I just gave up with those windows. They were too big, which you'll see me do that in a hot second. I ended up pulling that um, roofing tile piece through too because I thought it looked better than just having it next to it. I ended up doing smaller windows instead, which I honestly liked more. As you can see, there we go. I pulled that through to kind of match up with the roof. And now we go through the coloring book of trying to figure out which color looks best on the roof of this house. And we ended up deciding on, drumroll please, not that one, not that one, that one. So I ended up going with that. I thought that looked the best. Um, that poor little roofing tile is still out there all on its lonesome for a little bit longer until I finally delete it. Putting in some more little details and little window bump outs. I ended up just extending the roof a little bit to kind of make that fit. I was going to put one there, but I thought that was too close to the little overhang area for the garage, so I ended up just putting in a little small one and just extending the top little deck patio balcony type thing going on. So now you can see that we have two different like hallways, outdoor hallways, and I ended up doing the dual staircase because I thought that made it look even fancier since we can't really have like a grand staircase like a spiral grand staircase or like a curved staircase that's all angular. So I thought that I would go with those two off to the side. So I had to do a little bit of editing to kind of make that fit. And here we are fixing more of that as I was talking about. This is actually the second time I tried to record this video. The first time I got to about the spot we're to in a little bit, and I was talking about this fountain. I was like, yeah, this fountain's cool. It's really gaudy. I don't really use it a lot. But I was like, I had a matching swatch, and I was like, oh yeah, I totally want to use it. And moved it around, and I was talking about how, I did this little patterning detail with the different stone colors as kind of like a pathway throughout the house. And then I ended up putting in that shark pond, and I tried to fix the audio and I just messed it up. And I tried and tried, and I was like, you know what? We're just gonna give up. We're gonna start over. So this is attempt number 2. We're off to a strong start. There's the shark pond. We're gonna come back to that later. No snafus with the shark pond audio this time. But yeah, because like if you're ultra rich, why not have a shark pond? Rich people spend so much money on frivolous items, so it's like, why not? Why not put a shark pond in? So I had this idea of doing like little grounds areas and little garden spaces, and that started with the shark pond. So I put in that same dark tile as I did for the driveway, and then I thought, oh, let me do like a little path to it. So like I have the marble from the patio, kind of encasing the pathway, as I do in the front here by around the fountain. And then I tried to do some landscaping, and I just said forget it because I wasn't really wild with it. So I just did some basic little topiary things. And here is where I worked harder, not smarter, and tried to do these little pieces until I realized that there was a much smarter way to do that. And the answer is ding, 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 ding. It is fences, which is what I'm about to do in a hot second. I don't know why I didn't think of that previously. Like, it makes sense for going around the house because the fence won't really sit right. It'll try to make the wall the fence, but for the around the garden area, I should have just done that. It was so much easier. So, yeah, once I remembered that, I switched to that. And then I was like, oh, I should totally continue doing that. There's where I actually had to use those bushes to continue doing a little bit of landscaping in the front. Just, pretty minimal. Nothing fancy, just some palm trees, a couple flowers, nothing spectacular. Because I wanted the gardens and like the little fountain I was going to do later to be pretty spectacular. The shark pond kind of says everything it needs to say. You don't need 30,000 different little fancy plants. So here I am putting in another one of these grand doors to make sure that all the doors matched. And this is where I ran into the problem with the patio being a different height than the actual house. And I thought I could just work around that because I wanted to put a pool out there. And I was like, oh, I'll just have a step on the inside. It'll be fine. And then I realized the absolutely sad truth that you can't put a pool on a patio like that. It has to be flat on the ground, or you have to raise up the whole foundation. And I was sad. So that means I had to raise up the whole foundation or keep it down, and I ended up raising it up. So I had to fix some areas to make that work. So then I had that garage door there, which I had to add back in, and it's not functional anymore. Not that, cars are functional in The Sims anyways, because they're not. But, so your sim can't actually go through the garage, which I actually was kind of happy with later because what would have sucked? Like having the sim go through the garage every time you have this grand entryway. Like, of course, they're not going to want to walk up the 2 flights of stairs and then walk down because that's what I ended up doing in the building part um, of the inside. So they would just walk through the garage. So I didn't want that. So I guess it works out that the garage door isn't really like functional to the outside because of the foundation. I didn't add a step for it. But you could if you wanted. I just don't really want my Sims walking in through the garage door every time when they have that amazing grand entryway. Honestly, I just ended up doing some, shift teleport deals once we got going with this house because it's huge and it takes the Sims forever to get anywhere. So that's the only disadvantage of having like mega mansions for your Sims. So here I am doing some details in the pool, and I didn't realize until right about now that I put them all facing the wrong way. So here I am fixing that. And then at least I knew for the rest of the pool, and I was pretty pooped out of doing these little details, so I said, forget it, and I didn't do any more of those after I finished the rectangle. And I was like, you know what would look nice? Orange turtles, because they match the colors. So we went with the orange turtles, and then we put in some lights so your Sims can have a nice little nighttime pool party in their ultra rich mansion, whatever you want to call it. And I was like, oh, I should continue the grounds. I still have a little space up at the front. Let me do some fountains because I don't really do fountains a lot. So I thought this would be the perfect house to kind of have a super extravagant, ridiculous fountain. So I put these little fountains to the side, and then I wanted the little fish and some of these little fountain thingies I don't really use that often. And I had to make it a little bit bigger. Honestly, in hindsight, after having my Sims move into this house now, honestly, the fountain should be a little bit bigger. So if you place it, something you can think about if you want. If you don't really care about the last little fountain spritzy thingy spraying water onto the side, then you do you. Don't worry about it. That's what I did. So just kind of doing some extra details there. And like I said, this house will go live after I post next week's upload, which is about the interior design of the house, because this house took me so long to build. So yeah, I split it up into 2 parts. So here we are just kind of finishing, removing some weird fences that got places, and finishing up the last details. I wanted to do some roofing pieces, but they just didn't really fit for me. I kept trying. You'll see me continue to try to make it work, but it just didn't work. So I gave up. But yeah, so as we get closer to the end of the video, like I said, next week, once I post the interior design of this house, the video and the build will go live on the gallery. All you gotta do is search up KeelyCat4, same as my YouTube name, and you'll be able to find it in there so you can download it for your own Sims. And I hope you really enjoyed this video. Before we end, we gotta go back to our dad joke. So what's a cat's favorite sugary snack? The answer is a marshmallow. So the last part of this build is just adding in some lounge chairs, trying to make it fancy. I was kind of searching through all my different options of what I wanted to include. Little chairs and lights so then it's illuminated at night. And I added a couple more of those around the area, like towards the front of the house. So then it wasn't super dark and your Sims could walk around the large premises at night. Adding some more lights for these little outdoor little hallways that I put in. And just kind of adding some skill items too up around these areas just to kind of make a reason for the Sims to go out on the different balconies. Checking to see how it looks at night, and I'm gonna add in some beautiful little lights. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Considering I don't build a lot of like super big mansions, it's working for my Sims. I think it turned out great. You let me know in the comments. Do you like it? Would your Sims play in this house? There's the bin that I almost forgot about. Got some grilling items and adding in some more little pool decor items so they can relax. Like I said, the Sims that I built this house for, one of them is an actress and one of them was a famous figure skater. So that's why we have the skating arena in here. Um, and you'll see that in the interior design that I kind of based it around the fact that one of them is an actress. So you'll see that later. But yeah, so enjoy the last part of the video. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Thanks for stopping by if you're new here. Stay around, stick around. We have lots of fun videos coming out every week, including some Let's Plays on Sundays and possibly some other days coming up. So hopefully you're having a great day and thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye.